Okay, we're here with Todd, who has won a lad mat at a Seattle Regional side event, playing, what type are you playing?
I guess we would just call it Synchro Cat.
Okay, cool, let's get into it.
So obviously Synchro Cat runs the one and only cat with the standard triple air balance package. I opted to cut a Raiko. Normally people run 3 for a 3-star.
Oh, that's spicy.
So the 3-star is very important because getting to 6 stars, especially Goyo Guardian and Rio,
Yeah.
a very key situation. Also, people don't know how good Dark Panther is, especially when you play against Black Wings and they have Dark Arm. You just rescue Cat and now you have Dark Arm.
Attention,
and especially
Yu-Gi-Oh
if it's
players.
game, you can remove your
Standings
darks
are now
to
final
regain
for this
control.
event.
It's also an out against Lightstorm when they push early with JD. So
If you
it
are
has
part
lots
of the top
applications, which is why.
32
Also,
players,
it's a dark element, which will go
please
into why
sit
we also
at
run
the
dark.
corresponding
Yeah.
table.
And wait, for people to know, what's the effect? It copies an effect, right?
Yes, it
To your
gains the
standing.
name and the text of any card that your opponent
If you are not
Is
in
there any
top
cost?
32,
just
we
activate.
ask that
So
you
as long as there's
please
no skill
leave
drain,
the venue.
you're getting it.
Thank
And
you
did you
for
resolve it?
attending
Yes.
Seattle Yu-Gi-Oh! Regional Qualifier.
I run the Gravekeeper package because spellcasters are very important in Synchro Cat because Arcanite.
Yeah.
Alias and Heroes are very, very notorious, and Spy just hardwalls it, and it creates either a duplicate or you can run the Descendant. The Descendant is not once per turn as long as you have another Gravekeeper monster. That's how I was able to reestablish board control against a hero player. They
Yeah.
attacked into a Spy. I specialed another Spy, and I had the Descendant hand. So I traded my Spy for their back row and was able to slowly regain the board from there.
Third spy was never too much?
No, there was talks about cutting at the last minute, but even if you have one Spy in hand, so often that sometimes it just doesn't even make it, and just having the extra Spy to make sure you get a block in the effect is very clutch.
Cool.
Summoner Monk, I never saw it, but I won't cut it, but I never saw it.
You saw it against me, for sure. You didn't resolve it.
That's true. Gores is the MVP of the day. Saw it a lot and it did work. It either bought me the turn I needed or prevented from being OTK.
Sure.
Cyber Dragon was also very clutch. I know some people either opt to run none. It is strictly just a one of. I didn't run 2 because I find it to be very cloggy, but it also gives you the much needed ability to sync to 8. Sangan is obviously mandatory. Spirit Reaper, I wanted another wall that couldn't die. I also wanted to force opponents to burn their mind and or brain control on my Reaper and not get value. And I also like the ability to be able to avoid bottomless, and it's another undieable Arabella.
Reaper's so good.
So
Reaper's so good.
Gale was also a last minute addition because Absolute Zero and Stardust are a problem. This is a turn 1 summon removal because if Synchro Cat can remove those threats, then it can quickly reestablish board control.
Yeah.
Also against the Blackwing players, which are a problem. If you're able to mind and or brain their opposing Blackwings, you get a free summon.
Yeah. And you can also make Arcanite, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
One Shadow Monarch, it's pretty self-explanatory. I didn't run 1 2, I didn't want to run 3 because again, Synchro Cat deck is about synchro, but every now and then you do need a Shadow Monarch to either remove something of a threat, especially Treeborn Frogs, or sometimes you just need to target itself for game.
So kind of like see it if you see it, it's good. If you don't, no big deal.
Precisely. The spicy tech that, again, was specifically for the hero matchup and the Blackwings was main decking Thunder King Ryo. People forgot about what Thunder King Ryo does. It's a 1900, and that matters. So it completely makes Stratos inept. It makes E-calls, Rhoda's dead,
Yeah.
and if they open Whirlwind or 2 Whirlwind, you
Yeah.
don't care.
Yeah.
So that is the monster lineup. Spells, because Neospatian Dark Panther is dark, we want to maximize as many darks as possible, so we run the one allure. The allure is necessary because Synchro Cat needs certain elements at a certain time, and being able to see more cards is very crucial.
What's
Obviously,
your dark count? Do you know?
yes, I believe it's at 10, hard 10. So 25%.
I didn't see a dark of it anywhere, right?
Yeah, I cut Dark Arm because we play tested over 40 matches, and I only ever used Dark Arm once, and it was a win more. And the second time we used it, it didn't actually do anything. So we opted to not. I'm just not good with Dark Arm. Pot of Avarice. Some people run 1, some people run 3. I think 2 is the optimal number. Book of Moon. I know some people say a Book of Moon's bad in Edison, but Book of Moon literally defined this format. I would like to run it at 3, but the deck is so tight, I couldn't go anything under than 2.
Yeah.
It's very important because it's able to stop big pushes, such as being able to even reset your own flip effect monsters, such as Spy and Raikou.
I think a big thing with this deck is you can flip and then pop with Descendant, ab 0, and then it doesn't activate.
That's
right. Face down.
That's right.
Yeah.
Cold Wave is mandatory for this deck. It actually happened during the tournament. For Edison players that don't know, this is an important ruling to understand. Cold Wave and Royal Oppression. It's really important because if you have Oppression up to stop people's big plays, such as Miracle Fusions, and you haven't played your cat yet, simply wait for your Cold Wave, and then you can simply turn off your Oppression, play your cat, and do your push, discard their hand, create a couple synchros, and then they still cannot play or activate any spell cards, and then when it's your turn, the Royal Oppression reactivates. So you essentially have a hard lock.
Yeah.
Royal Oppression, again, in Edison, turns off because of Cold Wave. Your opponent cannot pay 8 to negate your cat. Heavy Storm, MST are pretty mandatory. You need as much back row removal as possible so you can resolve your effects. And of course, Brain Control and definitely Mind Control in this deck. With the addition of Gale, there's 4 tuners, 3 of them that I can fetch for at any time. They're very key, and Mind Control, being able to steal opposing hamsters and Raikous to even set up your deck is huge, because many decks play hamster that don't play Synchro Cat.
Yeah, and opening the board for Airbellum, right?
The MVP is hands down Smashing Ground. It actually won me the finals. The opponent set up a board by stealing my Spirit Reaper and said, okay, well, I'm clearly unable to break your wall, so now I'm going to wall you. But I had Rescue Cat, and I explained to my opponent, that's not going to prevent you from death. So I simply was able to push out my guys with Cat, showed them the Smashing Ground, and Cat is all about simplification. If you don't keep 1-for-1 game states, your deck is not going to prevail. For traps, just runs a standard Edison, Deep Prisons, and Bottomlesses. I know a lot of players prefer 3, however, it can be bricky at times, and I want to keep my counts as low as possible. The deck runs a ton of 1-ubs. One is Dust Tornado. It's just another MST because we don't have MST currently. It also sets you up for the ability to make your Gores active, because if you Dust in response to an attack, you're able to drop your Gores.
Sorry, you said you're not maining MST?
Oh, no, it's because we can't main 2 MSTs.
Oh,
I
for sure.
apologize.
Yeah.
Another one that I actually didn't see at all today was Starlight Road. I main it because people still play Mirror Force Torrential. It also allows you to be very aggressive against the 0 decks. And when an opponent has Bottomless and they think you're playing really reckless with your Rescue Cat, it allows you to power through a Bottomless with 1 Rescue Cat, have a Stardust, and then you're able to advance your game state. I don't like this card, but it's a necessary evil. Trap Dust Shoot is mandatory. And then, of course, the powerful 1-ubs, Mirror Force, Torrential, and Solemn Judgment.
Cool, man. So I think we have to wrap up. But were there any cards that underperformed or overperformed? I think you already mentioned the Smashing Ground, right?
Yeah, Smashing Ground was definitely MVP. Underperformance was if Summoner Monk actually could have resolved at any time.
Sure.
And I think the other card that did really well was Thunder King Ryle. It really forced players to either have to play around it or just completely walled people from actively playing their deck.
For sure. Okay, we're back. We had to move a little bit, but we're going to continue with the side and the extra. Or the extra and the side, sorry.
So, pretty standard. Chimera deck Fortress Dragon, never used it, but supposedly Machina decks are a deck, but in my
Dude, like when you cut it, you always miss it.
Agreed.
And then when you use it, it feels so good, but yeah, I know.
So it's pretty mandatory. I think every Edison deck has it. The 2/5s are pretty standard, Android and Catastor. 6s, again, Goyo and Brio, they're very standard. The Spice is the Urquois because of the Treeborn variants, whether it's Hero or Fish or Monarchs. It's very important because Smashing Ground just doesn't do it, especially if it's not lethal. But if you're able to Rescue Cat into Urquois, if they're under, if they're at 2K or under, it's lethal. And if they're under 4K, it puts them on a 2-turn clock.
Yeah.
And it punishes them for trying to stall with a Treeborn Frog.
Yeah. Just still games.
Pretty standard lineup for 7s because I run so many spellcasters. I have to run 2 Arcanites. One will never do it because you can always play another one.
Nice.
Black Rose Dragon is, when board's getting really dicey and you need a reset button.
Yeah.
And then my favorite 7 that I've only been able to resolve once this tournament is Urabellum. It's essentially a trap dust shoot requirement, but it basically time seals your opponent. because instead of discarding a card, it forces them to put a card at random back on top of their deck. It's really powerful when you're going against the other combo decks and they've bricked, because you don't want to discard cards because you give them a potentiality of drawing a new card that could open up and repair their really bricky game state. And I would rather just steal them out of the game. They don't get to play Yu-Gi-Oh! And then you just go off even deeper.
Yeah, and you can Airbellum and Urbellum in the same turn,
That's
right?
right.
Get 2, yeah.
8's pretty standard. Stardust Dragon, Colossal Fighter, and Red Dragon Archfiend. The MVP was definitely Thought Ruler. In the finals, Fish OTK, they run a lot of control spells, not just brain and mind control, but enemy controller.
Yeah.
And Thought Ruler just basically sealed their fate, along with going in and be able to sync for 6s. And then finally, of course, Mistworm. I could have made it a couple times, but I'd rather have preferred to either synced for the 5 or made just a 6. But cutting it, then you're never going to be able to.
There's a commitment. Like, you got to make sure that it's going to go off when you summon it, because it takes so much material.
Agreed. Side deck. I think the best MVP of the side was definitely, on top of Thunder
you
King
played this
Rav,
against me,
is
yeah.
Banisher. It's very important against the frog decks. It's also very good against zombie decks. Lightsworn and Hero Beat players are sad because their Honest are dead, and players do know that G-Spark does not work with Banisher Radiance live. They have to be able to send their alias to the graveyard. They can't, so they cannot activate G-Spark. This card is very, very,
That's cool.
very clutch. Dyna, I never used it. I've sided it, never saw it. I would not regret it again. I would still run it. I just never saw it.
Yep.
2DD Crows, again, necessary, especially with all those Miracle Fusion decks and Treeborn Frogs. Let's skip these two to the last. Pulling Rugs, pretty mandatory. I actually had to Pulling a Rug a Swap Frog because it was very, very important. I didn't give.
You got me. I misplayed there.
Obviously, again, Monarchs and anything else comes into play, Stratos. Master Strict, pretty self-explanatory. Don't want to let people tribute. Again, Royal Oppression is really clutch in this deck because with Cold Wave, again,
Oh,
allows
it's not main.
It's not main, yeah. So, Mirror of Oath. This was the super secret tech that no one knew what this card did.
GBs,
So it's good against GB, it's good in the mirror match. It's also good against the plant decks like Lone Fire Blossom because they summon from deck. And it's a +1.
What does it do for the audience?
So it allows you to destroy any monster or monsters special summon from your opponent's deck. Then you may draw a card. So if you're playing the Rescue Cat Mirror and they cap before you, you not only get to nuke their board, you also get to draw. And the reason why it's important is Bottomless would only hit the Arabellum. This would hit the Raikou and Arabellum. So if you don't know if they have any random tuners around, you want to get rid of everything, you also draw a card. Very, very
working
clutch.
damage step, like against like Shura and like Fire Dog, that card would be
It wouldn't be
more
fair.
solid, definitely.
Because unfortunately Edison does not allow you to play Shining Darkness, we're not able to run Crevice. Crevice from the Different Dimension is a common from Shining Darkness that really helps a lot of decks. Well, I still wanted to play Crevice, but I had to figure out a way to legally play it without getting in trouble. And that was Transmigration Prophecy.
Yeah.
So I never got to use it, I never got to resolve it, but just knowing that it was there was really important because there was so many plethora of zombie and frog and any other floaters. And it can even stop a Miracle Fusion, so it's very, very clutch. You can also stop Pot of Avarices. You can even send your own Avarice back to the deck if you need
So
something.
this puts 2 cards back in the deck from either player's
Either
graveyard?
player's graveyard. So you can pick one from your opponent's graveyard and one from yours if you really maybe want to save it from a crow target.
Yeah, that's cool. And ulti too, for sure. It's a nice ulti.
So this was the super spice that never happened, and this was the dream that never came. But I think Mirror Oath is hugely underrepresented and people should look at it. It's a common and raging battle.
Interesting. All right, congrats on the mat. Thanks, man.
Thank you.